Good morning and welcome to I'm Only Human, the podcast slash YouTube channel that tries to talk about how to coexist with other humans. Today's episode was recorded back in October of 2023, where I had a chance to talk to someone. Her name is Annie. She was on her way out the door heading to detox. She was adamant she was going to go there and detox and get on with her life. Annie is a friend of David Johnson from Lost Sheep Ministries, and she talks about Dave and the ministry and a bunch of other things. And so let's listen together. This is still back early when I was recording stuff, and I'm not very good at interviewing people and talking to people, and I still don't know if I am. It's been a while since I've put out any new content. All right, let me bring this up and we will listen together. How does that sound? Fabulous. All right, let's find it. There's this. All the clicking. All right, so heading to detox. Let's play.
It's like my body and my behavior, it's all toxic. I'm unhealthy in every way right now. Like mentally, like I said, I can't tell when I'm like lucid really or manic or
All right, let's go this. Let's go back to the beginning. There we go.
Hi there, and welcome to I'm Only Human, a podcast that attempts to explain how to coexist with other humans. This podcast is going to dive into topics like: is it possible to overcome human nature? Are rules and laws necessary for taming bad behaviors, or are they simply a control mechanism crafted by other disturbed minds? Why do we fight with each other? How does traditional religion impact us? Can social disease be healed through individual recovery? My name is Jen, and I'm an average human. Before I begin, I would like to state that I will be talking about controversial things such as, but not limited to, religion, God, the Bible, 12-step programs, and politics. I am not an expert, and I don't claim to be one. I will, however, be referencing Alcoholics Anonymous because it is the granddaddy of all other 12-step programs. I will also be quoting things from the Bible and mentioning God along with different religions. I'm not trying to promote a particular program, nor am I trying to convert anyone. I believe religion gives us a foundation, and 12-step recovery guides people down a path to self-actualization. Through recovery, healing is possible. I believe that changed minds and attitudes can change our world. That didn't sound very evil. Let me try again. Happy Halloween, everyone. Well, it's close enough to Halloween. This episode does contain explicit language. This is your disclaimer. Yesterday, I had a conversation with Annie. Sorry, Annie, I didn't put in your last name due to anonymity for your family. Annie is a friend of Dave Johnson, founder of Lost Sheep Ministries, so she does reference him quite a bit. If you want to know who Dave Johnson is, please click on the links in the show notes to find his interviews. I ended up calling Annie as she was preparing to head into detox. I recorded our conversation and she gave me permission to publish it. If you want to understand what goes on in the mind of an addict about to go into detox, this might be a good episode to tune into. The conversation does go all over the place, but it's all good. It might take a few listens to catch everything that was said. You know, it is okay to listen to a podcast more than once. After all, we watch all the same TV reruns. I'm not sure how the volume's going to be on this podcast. I know my volumes have been all over the place. It's because of my lack of knowledge with podcasting at this time, but I'm working on that. I'm an imperfect human. Anyway, here's the conversation.
Yeah, I met Dave because we worked from like 12:30 to 9 p.m. in this house answering phone calls from 612 Freedom, so crisis phone calls. And then, yeah, they hired some like bigwig from Hazelden who is very knowledgeable. But I remember he came in, he started recording our phone calls, like how long they took, and he just said, you know what, here's how it's going to go. This isn't 1-800 Love Links. We're not paying you guys to pray on the phone. Like he said, your job is to answer the phone call, schedule them for an assessment so that they can get into the program and then they can be exposed to the gospel. And Dave it didn't, like he said, sit with him right when they said he couldn't go into detoxes. And yeah, that's kind of how I felt too. I'm like, maybe they're not going to come in, maybe this is the only phone call they're ever going to make. I mean, I'm not going to not pray for them if I feel like inclined to pray for a crying mother or whatever. But anyways, Dave drifted off. But when we worked together, I was single, 22, I was probably 24, just working and living in one of the apartment complexes that if you're staff, it's like $500 a month. And I was just single and did the year-long program. And then Dave had me write down a list of things that I was looking for in a husband. I have 2 older brothers and a lot of men in my life. And in the Marine Corps, it's like 1 woman to every 38 men. But I had never really thought about it or had any boyfriends. I wasn't a virgin. But the point is, Dave ended up marrying my husband and I like 4 years later. I met him in sobriety. And then, like on my birthday, probably 4 years later, him and I baptized my husband in his parents' pool at his house in Edina. And then I got pregnant on our honeymoon. And Dave has just been my best friend for a long time. He used to take me to church and cook me breakfast when I was lonely. And then, probably 2 years ago now, my husband relapsed after we moved up to where I'm from in Frederick, Wisconsin. And then we had our second son, Tommy, and that was during all that COVID. And he fell pretty hard on just like Adderall and smoking weed, and he ended up impregnating this fling that he had with a girl in high school. They reconnected on social media because I don't have TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat I even had friends being like, oh, I see Corey like all over just taking pictures. And he lost 40 pounds and he kind of became a dick. And needless to say, he raises his 10-month-old son, Colton, with his girlfriend down in Edina. He lives at his parents and is also trying to get sober. But yeah, I almost had 9 years until the first weekend after our separation when he had the boys. I made it till 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday and was like, all right, I'm walking down to the bar and I'm going to play a game of pool or something. And then, we hang out in bars and start drinking. So I've been drinking for a year now. And yeah, Dave's like a dad, grandpa to me, so I ignore his calls a lot. But sometimes I take them and I'm manic or I'm fucking pissed. And rage and anger are more my drug of choice than alcohol is. But everything was fine. Nothing catastrophic happened. I wasn't public about it, obviously. This Teen Challenge, I used to speak at their galas. I started a veterans program. They put me on the news a couple times. It was I was private about it. And then I wasn't private about it. 3 weeks ago, I stayed up all night long. And then I made a Facebook post about Michael shared his story. And I don't really share all of his everything beliefs, but I know that he stayed up one night was awake for 14 days on crack and then cried out to God after looking at himself in the mirror and seeing what he looked like. And he was dead inside. And then the next morning he woke up and he never used it again, And given he's pretty much looking at bankruptcy now, it's still a pretty amazing story. And Mike, we were texting the other night at 4 a.m. because I know him. I wouldn't say he's a friend. He's kind of obnoxious, but he's a good person and he loves the Lord. And I know he's trying his best, which is what I'm trying to do. So I called Dave. I accidentally woke him up. It was 7:30, but I called him and I said, hey, I woke up today and was watching Intervention. And I'm just going to check myself into treatment today because I need to detox because I'm shaking. So I'm packing a bag of comfy clothes and he sent me your podcast and I was like, that was awesome. I remember that kid. His name was Noah Carlson, the one who they kicked him out for something stupid like not taking his hat off. And then he died that night. So it's just, I want to be like Dave too. God has used me in ways that were answered prayers, and it's like I get off on that right now because I'm sick and I've resorted back to being an alcoholic. What I really do is I tell people to go fuck themselves when they say something or don't say something or anything. I'm agitated, I'm broken. I have my boys Monday through Friday, and their dad gets them 3 weekends out of the month, but I'm kind of a scorned woman over here. I'm fucking broke. Excuse my language. I love Jesus, but I feel more comfortable in bars than I do churches.
Makes sense.
And so then like 3 weeks ago, I just was walking around angry and easily offendable, and I was the activities director at the nursing home, and it was a perfect job for me because I'm not a nurse. I didn't have to wipe their butts, or I'm the only person in that building not coming at them with needles or meds or making them do, I was like the hype man. It was awesome. I got to tell people about Jesus and play cribbage with people. And then I quit one day because I basically got my feelings hurt in a meeting, and I shut down. I went home. I drank. I slept. And needless to say, on yesterday morning, as of 8 a.m., my mom and my stepdad, who are really great people, live 8 miles down the road on a 20-acre hobby farm, but they have guardianship of my kids. So things took a fucking dive for me really hard in the last 2 weeks. But that's okay, because when you hit rock bottom, that's when, I don't know, usually people find out that Jesus is the rock at the bottom. He's my answer, and I know he's real. Nobody could ever take that away from me. I just have been outrunning him, my conscience, if you will.
So have you been in like any kind of recovery program before, or do you just detox and then they set you free and they're like, all right, enjoy your life? Or is there any follow-up there?
Well, like at Teen Challenge, it's a year long. So I walked in there with my 2 trash bags. My dad was just a volunteer. He has a huge community garden and takes the guys. He's a softball coach, takes them to play hockey. But most important to him is he and his wife does it at the women's. But they teach guys how to grow their own food at these gardens. And so he was like, "You're going to Teen Challenge, you know?" Then I didn't really have a lot of detox stuff going on back then. Not, back then, but it was in like 2013, I guess. It was just chemical dependency, and now there's way more like dual diagnosis mental health. They have psychiatrists. They've kind of moved away from, my last job there I held, because I did jail ministry. I worked in almost every department besides like being a cook or a maintenance man there. But my favorite job was community outreach, going out to the jails and Dorothy Day Center and casting my nets. And that's what made me feel alive at the time. You just giving glory to God and telling my story about how I was a disgusting individual in the Marine Corps stationed overseas, just doing a lot of like destructive stuff to my inner child, if you will, just adding more and more shame. And it kept getting heavier and heavier. And then once I couldn't take it, I ended up in challenge. But like I've been in and out of the behavioral health unit 2 times in the last like 3 weeks, because my mom's like, "You need to do something." And I'm like, well, I don't know how else to say I need help. My parents don't give me money. They're not together. They haven't been since I was 5, but I'm fine with that. I respect that. Between the two of them, there's 6 kids of us that, it's like, no, I get it, but nobody knows how to help me. I'm like this really fucking gnarly car accident on the side of the road, and they drive by just like people do on the highway, and they slow way down to check out the scene. And then, they zoom off and are like, Denny's or Perkins, that somebody definitely got mangled back there. Holy shit. And I'm just sitting in there bleeding out. I don't know what to do. It's not that people don't care. They just don't know how to care. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't even know how to tell someone how to support me right now. I just know I don't like being in a locked facility. I don't feel mentally ill, but I also don't trust. I can't tell when I'm having clarity or not anymore. I don't know, and I'm not anti-meds, but it's tough because, like, when you can't see, you don't know optometrists, and they say, "Okay, can you see now?" Oh, can you see now? And, "Oh, yeah, I can see now." But, like, with meds, well, it might take 6 weeks, and it might not work, or it might make your symptoms way fucking worse. You're going to want to throw yourself off a bridge. But hey, at least it'll calm your nerves, on an airplane, or I don't know. It's complex, I believe it's spiritual, it's DNA. My dad's been sober for 30 years. Yeah, I got yelled at my whole life, and then I signed up to get yelled at in the Marine Corps, and I just have some trauma, a lot of trauma, actually.
But the basis of most of my podcast is when dysfunctional people raise children, those children become dysfunctional, and then we raise our kids to be dysfunctional.
I just told Dave that. I go, every generation or every family, every baby that's born, it just keeps getting more and more dysfunctional. I said, we are a fatherless generation. And then I told him I want you to know, I don't listen to anything. Like when people send me, ooh, listen to the song. I'm like, oh, no. My mom, throughout my divorce, she said, you have to listen to this podcast. Like, it'll prepare you for your divorce. Because I was self-represented. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it because I don't have the capacity. I don't care. But Dave sent me your thing after we talked for an hour and 22 minutes this morning. And right when I heard your voice, which is kind of monotone for somebody with a podcast as interesting as yours, but when you started saying this is, we're going to talk about, what you're not supposed to talk about at dinner parties, religion, politics, all of it. And I'm not one way or the other, but hey, expand your mind a little. And then Dave took me on a journey. I knew most of the story, but it was good. So I had to reach out to you.
My other episodes are a little bit shorter, and some of them are more focused. Like I have an uncle I talk to a lot. He is bipolar, addict, alcoholic.
Because that's what's so interesting. People who are mentally ill are musical geniuses. Or when I grew up, I was obsessed with the Doors and Led Zeppelin, Leonard Skinner, with all the posters on my wall, and I watched the same movies. I thought musicians were so cool. I don't give a shit if I die at 27. What does the Marlboro Man say? It's better to be dead and cool than alive and stupid. But that's how I felt.
Stupid.
It is stupid, but it's like I thought drugs expanded your mind, which I still kind of do. But it's like, no, I am an addict. I have been, tooting Adderall up my own nose since I was like 14. I mean, I hung it all up to get into the Marine Corps. Yeah, now that I relapsed, it's like way worse. Like when I was 22, shit, I didn't have kids. I could go to treatment for a year. I didn't have anything else better to do. But now it's like I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old son, Skip and Tommy. And I'm today, like I said, packing a bag and a journal and walking into a locked facility because I'm not wasting any more time. Like on intervention, this chick, my grandparents raised my kids and now they're 7 and 11. I missed it because I'm a heroin addict. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that to them. I had to write a letter once in Teen Challenge. They said, picture yourself when you were 7. I'm like, oh, curly hair, buck teeth. And then they were like, oh yeah, and then write her a letter and tell her all the shit you're going to put her through. And it was really powerful, like really powerful. And so retraining my inner child would come in clutch right about now.
Yeah, what changed my life was Al-Anon, which is based off of AA,
Yeah.
and that's what changed my life.
I've been going to AA since I was 18. My mom benefits very much from Al-Anon. So it changed your life for the better too, and you like weekly or
I go
monthly?
to a weekly meeting, but what keeps me sane is I'm also in another program, Codependence Anonymous, which speaks a little closer to me because, I grew up around alcoholism, and I'm sure it affected me, but what's wrong with me is me, and that's mostly what codependence deals with. For programs, they have their own aspect on what the main issue is and why you're there, and that's why they keep them separate when you're there, but all the 12 steps for every program are the same. And I believe it brings people to a self-actualization. It teaches you how to deal with your human side and how to sit with those negative feelings and be like, okay, I'm sit with them. Now I can get over them. Now I can move on with my life type thing.
Anger, that little red fiery guy, that's like me now. It's like people wouldn't even, when I used to tell them how gross I was in the Marine Corps, they'd be like, no way, you? Because I'm all gentle and this and that. And I've resorted back to that. It's like I'm 32 now, but I dress in all black like I'm doing a gig at Folsom Prison later. And like I'm going to a funeral and I'm mad inside and everybody's annoying to me and everything irritates me and I'm agitated. Just like when I got out of the Marine Corps, I walked into Teen Challenge from a man's world, and I'm not a feminist, but it was like walking into this home with 56 women. I was like, oh my God, shit. This is going to be a bitch, My mom, for the first few weeks, would come visit me on Saturdays. Like, please, Mom, please take me home with you, but no, and they didn't. And then I made it 13 months. And yeah, the graduation day was the best day of my life. And the following 9 years were good. They were a journey, but yeah, I've always had hope. And then, yeah, I kind of burned my last bridge last night. I'm 32, but I basically have this like 54-year-old neighbor boyfriend. And yeah, he's the only one who's like, makes me feel safe. And I texted him this morning. I said, I know I lied to you last night. I know I was drunk. Can you call me today? And he said, I honestly do not want to talk to you, which he has never. We've been, I met him that weekend that I went to the bar a year and a half ago, and we've gone to concerts together and out to the Black Hills together. And yeah, he just 7 a.m. said, I don't want to talk to you.
So how does that feel from, because I've never been like the addict, I've been on the other side. How does that feel from your point of view when you feel like everyone's turned their back on you and there's nowhere to go? Like, how are you feeling right now before you go into this detox?
Well, I was feeling, when I woke up this morning at 3 a.m. on the dot, I just had racing thoughts and shame. Like, just this thought of this drilling. Well, doesn't mean anything to you, but a first sergeant who I very highly respected when I was in the Marine Corps, who, when I was getting out, he said, you know what you are, Cackman? Wasted potential. I'm thinking, like, fuck you, I'm only 22, but I know what he meant, because I should have stayed in the Marine Corps because I was good at it. And I'm 32 now, and I believe, God uses everything for the good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. So it's going to be a part of my story and help someone else someday. But yeah, I am done taking phone calls. Like, because I'm kind of like me and Dave. I left too. I was like, I'm gonna kick it with Dave. Like, he works for God, I work for Dave. Like, it'll be all good. But then when we moved back home to Wisconsin, where it's like, yeah, people go beer in their Cheerios practically up here. It's like, it's weed. Nobody's jogging around. The library's empty. It's a sad place with unmotivated, overweight, alcoholic people. And I feel called to stay here because all my friends in the cities are like, you need to come back home, to your community. I'm like, I have a community here. 1,137 people make up my community. And I feel like God takes you out of dark places, puts your feet upon the rock, and then he sends you back out into those dark places to do your thing. I believe that your biggest strength is your biggest weakness, which is why I can articulate how I'm feeling or whatever. But at the same time, like I said, I can just fucking crucify a person, make a grown man cry with my words, and that doesn't feel good. In the moment it does, makes me feel very alive telling someone to go fuck themselves. But then eventually people get sick of that, and they don't look at you with pity like you're sick, like you have cancer. That's how I feel. I feel like I'm a good person with a bad disease. And yeah, sometimes it takes the driver's seat, and I believe in like spiritual stuff. So it's like I told my stepdad, who does not believe in spiritual stuff. He was in the Marine Corps for 20 years. He's like, what's the deal? You're just not going to take care of your kids. And I go, you know what, Steve, the bottom line is that most of the time the kids are stronger than the alcohol. If I know I'm going to pick up the kids, I'm not going to drink, even though it feels like a punch in the face, how bad I want to and how big of a relief it would be. But sometimes the demons are stronger than my children, because like you think, how the fuck does a mother walk away from their child, or whatever they do, whatever negligent, awful, god awful things people do in this world. It's evil, and I've just been having a pity party, I guess, for the last year and a half, because my husband left us, and I have to sell my house now, and interest rates are at 9%. So I gotta press the restart button on my life again and fire myself as the CEO and have a team, a squad, like a psychiatrist and a nutrition person. I don't know. I gotta get back on track. I'm not a dumbass, so why do I make dumb decisions? I don't know. In the Bible, it talks about it.
Does it help you to know that I feel like the same things you feel? The only difference between an addict and me is that physiological reaction to the things we put in our bodies. But it's the underlying behavior that's the cause of all this. Alcohol, drugs, it's just a coping mechanism. That's all it is. And then your body becomes addicted. So that's why you can't quit. But it's the underlying mental issues that is the real problem.
Well, I completely agree because they make you tell your testimony at churches. That's how Teen Challenge raises money. And they're subsidized by the government as far as group residential housing. But like their curriculum and programming is raised through galas and churches on Sundays and singing in the choir. And when I told my story, I'd be like, I didn't have a creepy uncle that touched me when I was 7. I had, even though my parents got divorced, it was like, I had a good childhood. I had a good life. Yeah, I had some bad stuff happen, but I wasn't self-medicating when I started drinking or smoking weed. It was fun with my brothers, And like I said, it's just I'm a social butterfly, and alcohol gives you that little. And I knew I was an alcoholic pretty much like the first couple of times I drank when I was 15. I just fucking loved it, and just is like a warm blanket. It's like a best friend. It's a crutch. When I would tell my story, I'm like, but it wasn't like that at first. It was fun. I wasn't self-medicating at first. Then my body became addicted to it and told me, I need this, lady. Hey, it's like a sim in the Sims game looking up at the camera being like, need water. It's like, that's how it feels. It's a pull. It's really strong too, and yeah, it's like my body and my behavior, it's all toxic. I'm unhealthy in every way right now. Like mentally, like I said, I can't tell when I'm like lucid really or manic or talking too fast or talking too slow. It's not, it doesn't feel safe. I can't even define what it feels like to be safe anymore.
Well, hopefully you'll find that in recovery. Right now, I'm living with active alcoholism, and it's just somebody that lives in this house here. And just, I see it's so sad for me to watch, but this is what this person lives to do. This person lives to get off work and drink because that's the only way they feel alive. But then I see them looking like crap in the morning and throwing up all the time. And stumbling around the house, and they have their routine. It's like when they go in a certain direction, they're compelled to go out to the garage or go to their room and drink another shot or 5 shots or whatever it is they have hidden around. And I see this happening, and I can see that it's sad, but it makes them feel alive. So is that what alcohol and drugs do for you? It makes you feel alive. It makes you forget everything.
Doesn't make me forget anything. It enhances. It's like at the beginning of Pineapple Express when Seth Rogen is like, weed, it makes food taste better, sex feel better, music sound better. It's like, yeah, I'm like an addict because I always want to feel a little bit better. It's like, yeah, I might have woken up and gotten 7 hours of sleep. I feel good, but feel a lot better if I, smoked a bowl before I went to work. Or it's just like, it's like a person who's having an asthma attack or something, and you hand them an inhaler, and you can see them being like, it feels like that. I don't know.
I don't know if it's hypocritical or not. My uncle and I, we had a conversation about weed because he's an addict and he is an alcoholic. He's in a recovery phase, but he smokes weed all the time. And we were in this discussion. It's like, is it a drug? Is it a gateway drug? Is it not a gateway drug? I mean, how is smoking weed any different?
Very complex,
Like, how is it any different from taking medication for mental health? Because weed and CBD, it really does calm people down. Like, you've never heard of a bunch of people high on weed going to rob stores and stuff. No, those are other drugs.
Are you, just out of curiosity, you don't have to say yay or nay, but I'm pro weed. Since I've been 15, I've been telling people, it's like, even when I got sober, I didn't smoke weed because I didn't, I was like literally a representative of Teen Challenge, but I poke a oney a few times a day, like come home on a lunch break and, or sneak out to the garage after the boys fall asleep. I'm not smoking weed all day long, but I definitely use it as a coping mechanism to, relieve anxiety instead of being on an anti-anxiety med that is just going to make me not feel anxious. Like, no, I need to feel the emotions, like you said, experience them, like navigate, process them. And I'm a verbal processor, so it's like, to not have anybody to call when I need to pick up the phone and talk because I told everybody in my life that I push people away before they do. So it's, it's hurtful. I'm so sick of being me. Have you ever seen Shameless?
Yes, I just finished watching that whole series.
Frank's Monica back, if you can remember, in like the first couple of seasons, like she comes home, she's gonna shampoo the carpet, she's gonna do this, and then one night she's laying in bed and Fiona gets up there and she's like, "Get up, Monica!" She's like, "You tried to get Ian to enlist in the army, you fucking da-da-da, and Carl's got a broken leg," and And Debbie just looks up. She's downstairs. She looks at Carl and she's like, Mom's never going to shampoo the carpets, is she? And then, yeah, Monica just ends up under the stairs. They look for her like all day and can't find her. And Frank finds her under the stairs and she says, a tear comes out and she just says, I'm so tired of being me. Just don't want to be me anymore. And that's kind of where I'm at. I love me. I know God gave me talents. I'm a really good artist. I sing and play the drum at my church that I don't really go to anymore. It's like I just use all of that, like meeting strangers in bars and having a fun night and getting on a random guy's Harley and not sleeping with him. But it's like it makes me feel alive. It makes me feel alive. Yeah, I'm pretty pathetic when it comes to weed. I just took a picture and sent it to my high school friend. I said, I can't find my chill on my lost on the couch the other night. It's in the Bermuda Triangle. I go, so I'm resorting to a very expensive alternative. And I sent him a picture of an apple. And I said, it's Honeycrisp. And he goes, they call that the Willie Nelson special. I was like, well, it's not the first and probably not the last time I'm going to smoke out of an apple. But my dog chewed up my dugout, the one he's missing, and you gotta have it kind of deal. It's like a ritual. I wake up, coffee, smoke a bowl. It's like I get sick when I take a painkiller. I don't like that. I like to be up. It's like I'm not. Yeah, you can have my bottle of Vicodin after they pulled my 4 wisdom teeth out. It doesn't do it for me. It doesn't get my rocks off. That's why addiction's so complex, as is what helps different people. And Al-Anon helps you. It helps my mom. I fucking hated going to AA back when I'd probably enjoy it now as a 32-year-old, or I'll find something, but it's tough up here in the sticks. We don't have a lot of resources, and I'm on Badger Care now. And
Well, the one good thing that came from COVID is there is so many Zoom meetings now.
I know, yeah. That is awesome.
Some of the times my Al-Anon, it bothers me, like going to meetings and listening to all these other people. I admit it bothers me, but sometimes I need to sit there and listen to, but I resort mostly to listening to different podcasts, and I put all those different links in my show notes for different episodes and stuff, because I want people to find the help that they need. And that's why I'm talking about all these different programs, all these different things that I do that I can share with other people that might help them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome, especially because you're an introvert, but I think Eleanor Roosevelt to do something that scares you every day or something. So getting, some people have a message. Some people have a really strong message, and like a powerful story. And some people look at sobriety as must be absolute sobriety. I guess that sobriety is however you define it and what you're okay with. For me right now, when people are like, you're depressed, we're going to put you on antidepressant with psychiatrists, I'm like, you guys are smart people, though, right? Do you guys like mind, body, soul? Are we all on the same? It's like I'm depressed because none of my actions line up with my morals or my principles, so I don't feel good about myself inside. And I've been so emotionally immature and unable to regulate my emotions for so long that it is just a pattern. It's like a pathway in my brain that's like, oh, this person hurt your feelings. Tell them everything you hate about them and that you should fucking lose my phone number, Don't come to my funeral. It's like, geez, I don't talk to my dad anymore. I don't talk to my brother anymore. And then, like I said, you said, how are you feeling? Like when you woke up this morning, feeling very alone. Yep, I don't have anyone to call.
We feel the same. You're not alone. You're not alone in this world. You are loved.
It's awesome. I'll have a boyfriend again someday. I'm like, I don't need to breed with anybody again, probably, because having 2 kids has been the most challenging thing ever, especially doing it alone. Yeah, I'm just choosing a new life today. What is today? October. Oh, I think today's my dad's birthday. Today's my sobriety date. So
October 28th.
All I gotta do is line up a ride and somebody to feed I inherited a miniature purebred dachshund, Doug. My kids love him, but he's chewed up all my hats and he shits in the house twice a day. Yeah. So I'll have to pawn him off on somebody for like 30 days, but I need serenity or something and just some perspective from healthier people who have knowledge in different ways like you. And I'm looking forward to the podcast that you mentioned about retraining or re-raising, or your inner child, and then just the bipolar thing. My dad and my mom got divorced just really quick because he was addicted to porn really bad, and he was an alcoholic, and I don't think infidelity was like a big thing, but he basically just didn't shut himself off after 3 kids. He just was selfish, and he. But when they got divorced back in 1996 or whatever, he just left. It's like he left her the house. He didn't take, my husband literally went in my garage in the middle of the day when I'm at work and takes our chest freezer full of venison. It's like, you're literally taking food out of your kids' mouth. I mean, but addiction does that. It's like, it's so ugly, and it takes you deeper than you ever thought you would go, and sadder than you ever thought you could be. Lonely, it's so overwhelming. And
addiction is a lonely place, and if hell on earth does exist, it's in addiction and depression and loneliness.
Oh, you can see it. And have you ever seen Intervention, the show?
I have not, but I've heard about it.
It's just, it can be, some stories just can kind of touch you, and that's what happened this morning. It's like, I don't know if you've ever sat down in a pew on a Sunday morning and you feel like the pastor's talking to you. It's like, everybody probably feels that way, but I can't, like AA and stuff, I can't hear people talk about themselves for too long, which is like what I'm doing right now. But when people glorify their past or just try to impress other people, and so I get it, but Facebook, I just look at, I've had it for like 2 years now. I got it when I was a stay-at-home mom during COVID, and I love Facebook. But I can see how people just worship themselves all day long and think they're so fucking interesting. It's like, you're not. Like, life is about, giving it away. I mean, my son was born a week before Christmas, and they were all like, what are you going to do to celebrate his birthday? And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, do you get like one big gift or different gifts, or how are you going to make? I'm like, I hope that we're in a soup kitchen on Christmas morning feeding homeless people. I hope he doesn't care. Maybe when he's 5 and 6, but I have a tough time wrapping my mind around lying to my kids about Santa and that, this chick flies in your window in the middle of the night when you lose your tooth. It's like, and then try to tell them about Jesus Christ, a real person in my mind. And then day by day, month and year go by, and they discover these little lies. And given I don't think kids look at their parents like, you lied to me, but I'm just not going to enforce or, rather like discredit my beliefs by, I don't know, just America.
I just think we're a big greedy society, and we don't have any morals or values anymore, and we all worship the almighty dollar, and that's God above all, and it's sickening to me.
Well, even just religion, it's like, okay, I'm not a Bible scholar, but I have read it, and I missed the part where it said Jesus was a Catholic and that you're going to go to purgatory, and that if you don't baptize your child on your way home, it's like, if that were the case, if your baby was going to go to hell because of your negligence to get them baptized by a priest, that's fucking crazy. It's like, Jesus wasn't a Catholic, he wasn't a Lutheran, he wasn't a conservative, or, it's like, and he also wasn't your homo neighbor Flanders, like the weird Jesus loving, and that's why I don't go to church very much, because I can't relate to people, because I've been naughty since I was 14 and slept with over 100 men that I'm not proud of. But it's like, people get it so twisted. It's like if Jesus was walking around today as a person, I think he'd take a can of spray paint and write, this was not my idea on all the churches. Like, y'all think you're right? How about humble yourselves and work together to find the truth? Not, I'm going to change your mind. That's another thing. People are like, I'm right. I'm most definitely right about this.
Yeah, I've taken
I'm not
on
willing to have a conversation about it.
I've taken on the Bible, and I have different branches of my podcast, and one is called Bible Journey. I'm still only on Genesis, but I'm taking stuff directly from the Bible and putting a modern point of view on it. And I've realized that since Genesis, human behavior has never, ever changed. And that's the one thing we've never looked at throughout history. And even in the Bible.
In your face now.
Right. So,
the Bible says that someday that evil will have the appearance of good and good will have the appearance of evil. And that's how I feel like today. It's like when I used to watch the news and I don't know where you stand, it's like I'd look at Nancy Pelosi on TV and I'd be like, this is weird. Like, this is like wag the dog. Like, people watch TV and they're all in fear. It's like, shut the TV off. You know, you have no control over it. That's where I'm at anyways. I used to be very like, what's going on in Congress today? You know, every morning on my commute to Teen Challenge. And then I worked for Tim Walsh, who was the he was the vice president of the mental health programming and the long-term curriculum. And I was his executive assistant. And I went to all his meetings and took meeting minutes and made action and sent out and scheduled. He's just made his PowerPoints, and he was like a psychiatrist. He was a Christian, and it was interesting. I learned a lot from him. But by the time I left Teen Challenge, I'm done here. You know, they help people get on their feet. I love it. I believe it's a really powerful ministry that God uses. And yeah, like, have you ever heard of the Bible Project, where those guys draw cartoons?
Oh yeah, I've seen that, and I think it just simplifies the Bible, doesn't it?
Absolutely, especially if you're a person who's visual. They're like, oh yeah, this is, and it's like 3 to 4 minutes. You don't have to commit to this big, like the book of Genesis, reading it. They kind of give you a snapshot and an understanding. Because people today they think it's all hogwash. I don't blame them. I really don't.
I think that traditional religion has destroyed a lot of people's mentality for what good is, because religion is just pushing more of their views, which really isn't God's views at all.
No. Yeah, and that's why AA, whether it works for some or not, and it depends on the people that you're in there with, but the 12 steps are all just biblical principles that Bill and Bob just put into a book, and people call it the Bible, like the AA Bible, and it's like, all that, the moral inventory and the character defects and the apology tour and like all of that. And then when you have a spiritual awakening, you're supposed to give it away. God says, we're gonna die someday, and that a lot of people are gonna say, Lord, Lord, and he'll say, did you clothe me when I was naked? Did you feed me when I was hungry? And then he will say, I never knew you. And a lot of people are gonna, I just don't want to be one of those people. I just don't want to have a whole life of being self-serving and being a bad example to my kids. Like Trainwreck, I watched with Amy Schumer, that kind of chubby comedian, but it was my life to a T. I was like, holy shit, this movie, which is called Trainwreck, looks like my Monday through Sunday. Like, this is not good. It was funny. It was really funny, but also sad. And Intervention, if you ever get time, find one. They kind of give you just like Dateline. It's like, oh, this little paragraph about so-and-so gone missing. It's just, if you connect to one, like, hey, they just have a ton. Like MTV's have True Life, or I'm addicted to da-da-da, but heroin, they cover it all. It's good and it's powerful and it's real, because they think they're doing a documentary about addiction, but they let camera crews into their house and into their car while they're shooting up, or you stand here and I gotta go turn a trick really quick in this park. I mean, it's raw. And then they have an intervention at the end and are like, you can get in a van. There's a van waiting outside and you can choose to go to treatment today. So, and then they kind of follow them for a couple of months and say, doing good or not doing good. But yeah.
I have a coworker who has recovered from heroin, and she has her own YouTube channel, and we kind of help each other out. I help her out with her show. She helps me out with mine sometimes, and we're just working together just to spread the message that
cool.
Everyone is worth saving.
Amen. That's and that's what my point was, is like, I don't need to be the next Billy Graham, but even just one person. It's one person. It's like that movie, Pay It Forward, with Kevin Spacey and the Sixth Sense kid. It's like, do something kind, and then all you can do is hope that you planted a seed, and God says that you reap what you sow. And it's like John 3:16, and then after that, he just says, love your brother as yourself. Golden rule, which it's like, it's easy, it's simple, but it's not easy, and it's not simple.
Right.
So
It's hard just to stay in your own lane and pay attention to yourself, because what other people do does have a bearing on like your mental health. And that's hard
Absolutely.
to draw the line.
Yeah, if I can just read you something. When I went to this inpatient unit, it's like, the nurses just kind of walk around with their gurneys and they administer meds a couple times a day. But basically, you're in there doing puzzles and just, acclimatizing to sobriety and stuff. But I opened up this book and I found this, whatever quote. And I heard the first part and even said it on the news once in a segment about Teen Challenge. But you've probably heard that hurt people hurt others, right?
Right, yeah.
But this says, but thankfully, healed people heal others, safe people shelter others, free spirits free others, enlighten people, illuminate others, and love always wins. So shine your light and love on all who may cross your path, because what you do matters. I thought that was good. I wrote it down.
That is important to remember that even when you're not looking, people are looking at what you're doing, and the things that you do can impact others in either a positive or negative way. It's up to you to choose how you want the world to see you.
Yeah, it's like the two wolves inside of you. It's can either feed the angry one, throw him a pork chop every day and just keep getting more and more bitter and more resentful and burning more and more bridges. And because like people are like, why don't you just get a job and do that? It's like, yeah, because when I go to my next job, I'm going to be the same person. I'm going to be the same dysfunctional bull in a china shop, and I'm not going to be better. So I need take a time out and swallow the pill of being away from my two kids because they're little and they don't know, and just do it because I need to get well again. Turning my phone off after this literally, and I'm just waiting to get my stuff out of the laundry that's done. I wish I had my AirPods while we were talking, but yeah, I just trying to pack bags for my mom to bring the kids to daycare and school. But yeah, I feel blessed that we got to talk to each other, and hopefully I can have an opportunity to like listen to more of your content, and then maybe someday down the road we'll meet or something. But yeah, I appreciate you taking my call.
Is it okay to put our conversation on the podcast?
Yeah, no, go for it. Yeah, we had a good talk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. I'm an open book, and yeah, Dave Johnson. If this is on the record, he's gonna have a banger of a funeral someday, and he has given me permission to give part of his eulogy. So I'll be working on that when I'm in treatment, because Dave is a very instrumental person in a lot of people's lives, because he wakes up and says, "Okay, God, where do you want me to go today?"
And you just want to say who you are real quick, because I don't think that we ever got to that.
Yeah. Well, my legal name is Anne Marie. I've gone by Annie since day one, and I think I'm going to change it all together to Oakley, though. Change my name. Totally.
Sure, why not?
Don't claim either. I mean, yeah, just kidding. But yeah, Annie.
All right. Well, I'm going to send you some of my podcast links. If you just, the podcast itself is free. Like if you subscribe, it might ask you for donations. You don't have to, but if you subscribe, then you'll be able to look at all the episodes there are, and you'll know when new episodes come out. And my descriptions aren't all the greatest, but there is so much content in every episode that I put out. I just don't know how to describe them in the show notes.
Well, like I said, you hooked me in. Like I said, I don't listen to stuff, but when I heard your voice saying what we're trying to accomplish here, we're just picking brains, and like I'm not taking a side. I just thought, yeah, this is gonna be. I'm gonna listen to this whole thing, and I did.
All right. Well, I hope that it changes your life. Then I got to get going. We got trick or treat coming up here soon.
No. Halloween it up. Have a good rest of your weekend, and God bless you.
All right. Have a good day, and good luck to you. And just remember, you're loved. Even if you don't feel like it, you are loved.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Bye. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
In closing, I would like to say that the opinions expressed here were strictly of my own making, or by my guests. Take what you like and leave the rest. You may come to realize that you may not like me or what I want to share. Let's talk to each other, reason things out, but let there be no gossip or criticism of one another. Instead, let the fellowship of ethical human behavior and the serenity from positive human interaction help you grow and chill out, one experience at a time. I would like to thank my higher power for guiding me through this podcast. I hope to spread the message of love, hope, and understanding by touching one life at a time. If you like this podcast, please like and share it. Comments also help other struggling people find it. I am now listener supported, and if you would like to contribute, please feel free. There is no obligation. If you would like to share feedback, you can email me at averagehumanbeing1875@gmail.com. There is also a link you can click if you'd like to send a voice message and add to the content of the show.
Okay. There we go. Let's stop sharing. Okay. So that was Annie K, and I do talk to her again. And I would like to talk to her again because it's been a while since we've chit-chatted. She's very fun to talk to. I just like the way that she talks, and she has a lot of good points. And I thought it was a good conversation. It started out a bit scattered, and then it got a little more focused on the recovery and feelings and things like that. All right, I'm going to sign off. All right, see you again for the next episode, whatever that may be, because I didn't pay attention again. All right, have a day, everyone. Bye-bye.